Hello world, as always, I'm Ryan, and welcome back to Intro to Hacking with HTB Academy. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the Academy platform itself. We're going to be talking about what are cubes, what are modules, what are paths, what's a Pwnbox, what's a Docker target, what's a VM target, how do I connect to the VPN, and when should I do that? All those details we're going to be covering in this video. I'm going to explain to you how to use the platform. That way, when it's time for you to start working on a module and start learning how to hack, you can just dive right into it and you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how the Academy platform works. At the same time, you're trying to learn the learning material itself. Be able to dive right in. So that being said, we're just going to jump straight into the video. So I'm not going to cover the registration process for Academy in this video. It's pretty simple. Go to the website, make an account, verify your email, and you'll land at this page. Now this is your dashboard, and on your dashboard you'll see these bubbles, and these bubbles just tell you how much of each style of content on the platform that you've completed. So right now this is a brand new account that I've made just for the purposes of this video, so these are all 0, but as you complete some content, these bubbles will start to fill up, letting you know how much of the respective style that's available on the Academy platform you've completed. So it's a nice way to just keep track of your progress. Same thing over here on the right, we can see our completed paths and modules. There's none listed because this is a brand new account, but as you complete modules and paths, these will show up here and you can keep track of your progress. There's also a transcript feature where you can download a transcript. That's on your profile page. I'll talk about that later towards the end of the video. Over here in the bottom section underneath these bubbles, you'll see the to-do list. So you can mark a module as being to do and it will show up here, and that's just so you can remind yourself to work on it. Also just for ease of access, because now instead of having to go and find the module and then start it again, you can just click right here from your dashboard. So when you mark a module as to do, it will show up right here and just makes it really easy to access. Right now I have one marked as to do, which is Intro to Academy. This is marked as to do by default when you sign up for an Academy account. And we could start it by pressing this button, but we'll hold off on that for now. In the left here, we have the navigation pane, and we can see we have the dashboard, exams, modules, and paths. Now, if I were to click on modules, it brings down this drop-down menu here, and we can view all modules, the modules that we've started, that we have in progress, all the modules which are available on the platform, the ones that we've owned and completed, and then also we can view the change log for modules if we wanted to do that as well. Paths are down here. We can look at skill paths or job paths. I'll talk a little bit more about paths in a second. And then of course the Help Center. You can find some articles written by myself on the Help Center, the FAQ, the Discord, and lastly, down here in the right is the support bubble. So if you need to reach out to support and contact us, you can contact us through here. We usually get back pretty quickly, especially on weekdays. On the weekends, maybe a little bit longer, but on the weekdays, usually pretty quickly, at max a couple of hours, usually like maybe 20 minutes. That varies, don't hold me to that, but that is how you can reach out to support. You can see my my icon right there. So that's your dashboard, pretty much everything available to you. We have the cubes listed up here in the top right corner, and we can see that we started off with 30 cubes. Cubes are essentially the currency of HTB Academy. They are what you use to unlock a module most of the time. You can earn cubes by completing modules, but unfortunately you won't be able to earn more cubes than you started with. So modules cost cubes and they give some fraction of those cubes back. Now in the case of the tier 0 modules, the free modules, you earn back the same amount of cubes that you spend, so they end up being free. You start off with 30 cubes available to you, and you have one module already unlocked, Intro to Academy. So completing this module will give you plus 10 cubes, and then you'll have 40 total. So you start off with 40 cubes, and you can unlock 4 modules at any given time before you have to complete one to continue working on a new module. But all the tier 0s are free in that sense. You can buy more up here. There's also some subscriptions. I'll go over those later. I'm not going to talk about them right now. Let's take a look at the modules page. We can actually kind of see what I'm talking about here. So we can see this learning process module unlocks for 10 cubes, but it also rewards 10 cubes. If I hover over this, it'll say you will be rewarded this number of cubes, and it unlocks for 10. So it gives me back the same amount of cubes I spent on it for completing it. So these are all free. These are the tier 0 modules. There are, let's see, there's 5 modules in total, including 0. So it goes up to tier 4. And those go increasing in both complexity, rigor, and price. For the purpose of this series, we're going to be focusing on the Tier 0 modules. That's because they're the ones that are free, they're the ones that are for beginners, and also they're the ones we're allowed to stream. You can't stream or record or provide solutions or write write-ups for the higher tiered modules, but for Tier 0 you can, so that's what we're going to be focusing on in this video. We can see that this module, Intro to Academy, is already unlocked. We don't have to unlock it, we can just press start and we can start the module, and that is like that by default. It comes unlocked automatically when you register an account. So we can go ahead and just enter into this module. We're gonna hit start, and we get to this section here. This is our first section of the module. So the module is a course, and it has sort of chapters within it, and those chapters are sections. And we can see them over here in the table of contents that there are these sections. These are the sections right here in the table of contents. And this first section is called Introduction. And if we were to actually scroll through here and read this, we'll find that it's just going over what's a module, what's a section. I'm not going to actually read this. I'm just going to go through it. And once you were done reading it, you would scroll down to the bottom and you hit Mark Complete and Next. And that's going to put this little checkbox over here, right? So we can see that there's this little checkbox that shows up, and this basically just shows you that, hey, you've marked this section as complete, you're ready to move on to the next section. In order to complete the module fully, you'll need to mark all the sections as being complete, and then you can finish the module. So this one explains what sections are. We're going to mark that as complete and go on to the next one. And here we have something new. We have an interactive section. So an interactive section is a section that requires you to, can you guess it? Interact, right? So in this case, it's a question that we have to answer. And the question is, what is the name of the first section in this module? We can also see that there's a hint here, right? If we go over here, we can see that there's this hint button. Now, this is not always available. Sometimes this will be grayed out because there is no hint, but a lot of times you might find that there is a hint that you can click on. So we're going to click on this hint button, and we're just going to see what it tells us. And it says all answers are case sensitive in this case. So we're gonna say, okay, what is the first section of this module? Well, over here in the table of contents, it says Introduction. So we'll type that in, Introduction. And we can also notice that it says that this question is gonna give me 3 cubes. So it's gonna reward me 3 cubes for answering it. And we'll hit Submit. And it says, congratulations, you've earned 3 cubes. And we can mark it as complete and go to the next one. Fantastic. Here we have an interactive section with a terminal. So this terminal that it's talking about is what we call Pwnbox. It's an in-browser virtual machine that you can use as a workstation. Now, you don't have to use this. You can use your own virtual machine if you have one and connect to the VPN if it's needed. It's not always needed, but if it's needed, you can connect to the VPN, which I'll talk about in a little bit further. How do you do that? But you don't have to use this. You can. It's a virtual machine for you to use as your box you attack from, and we provide it in the browser. And this is free for free users. You know, if you can become an entirely free user and use it, you'll get 1 spawn per day, and that will last 120 minutes as a free user. It can't connect to the internet as a free user, except for GitHub, but it will last for 120 minutes a day. It has a bunch of tools loaded up. It is a Parrot OS image that we've created and customized for Hack the Box Academy. And if you want to use it but you don't want those limitations, if you make any purchase on Academy at all, those limitations will get lifted, and then you can use Pwnbox on Academy continuously unlimited. You don't have to worry about the limit. But as a free user with no purchases, 120 minutes per day, resets at midnight UTC, and you can only go to GitHub. You can't go to like YouTube or something on it. But we can see that it's started up here, and I'll just full screen this. Now, the astute among you might have just noticed my camera got a little bit darker. That's because I had some technical issues and I had to restart the recording. So we're just going to move these icons down so they're not so scrunched up. And we'll notice 2 files on the desktop right away that are really important. And the first is this mycredentials.txt file right here. This has the credentials for the account that you're logged into on Pwnbox. So if you need to run sudo, you'll find the password needed in that file. This is where you'll find your sudo credentials. The other important file is the HTB VPN file. This is your OpenVPN logs. So if you need to, say, reach out to support because Pwnbox isn't connecting to a target or something, and maybe there's a problem, it's a good idea to copy the text from this file and put it into the support chat, because this is your VPN connection log. So if there's an issue with the VPN connection, it'll be in there. Now on the bottom left, you notice the menu icon. We can click on that and we have a search bar. So we can search for, say, like Burp Suite if we wanted to run Burp or any other program. And in the top left, we have the applications menu. So this is categorized applications that are on Pwnbox. So let's say we wanted to do pen testing and we're looking for information gathering and maybe SMB analysis. So we can see that we got enum for Linux, MBT scan, polynum, or polynum, and SMB map. So we can go through there and we can find the tools we need there. We also have up here Bash, we have PowerShell, Sublime, Firefox. Let's open up a Bash terminal and we can run commands in here just like we could on any other VM. So I could do a who am I, for example, and it tells me the username that I have. So you can use this like a full VM because it is a full-fledged virtual machine. This is a Parrot OS instance. Now let's head back to the Academy page itself and we can see we have some instructions here that we're supposed to follow. So it wants us to click Start Instance. It wants us to try to locate the Bash terminal and click it. And then it wants us to type uname -a and figure out, let's see, what does it want us to figure out? So it wants us to figure out what the operating system is for this Pwnbox instance. So we'll do uname -a and we get a response, and it might not be obvious right away what the operating system is. In this case, we see Linux, Pwnbox base, 5.14.0-2, Parrot 1, AMD 64, SMP, Debian, 5.14.6-2 Parrot 1. Now it could be Debian here, right? You might think, okay, Debian is the operating system, but it's actually based on Debian, and the correct answer is Parrot. Now if we scroll down, we can go to the hint, and the hint says it's the name of a bird, which helps us confirm that yes, Parrot is the correct answer. So we'll go back down here, we'll type in Parrot as the answer, we'll submit it, we'll earn 3 cubes, and we'll mark this section as complete. Now this next section is pretty important. This is about interactive target systems. Target systems are machines on Academy that you're going to attack, where Pwnbox was what you attack from. It's a workstation for you to use as your VM. The target systems are kind of like boxes or challenges on the main platform. It's what you're going to attack. It's what you're going to connect to. It's kind of the fun part. So there's 2 types of targets on Academy, and they differ in some pretty significant ways. So the first type is a Docker target. A Docker target is a Docker container. Now, if you don't know what a Docker container is, I'm not going to explain it here. It's a little bit out of scope for this video, but it's basically a packaged service that runs on a specific port. And in this case, it will be a service that's running on a public IP address at a very specific port. And when I say public IP address, I mean, for example, in this case, 157.245.40.149, and the port is 3655. Now that is a public IP address, which means it's accessible over the internet. There's no VPN required here. You can just go to that IP over the internet and you have to access it at this port. If we scroll down to the bottom, we can click this button here, and this is how we spawn the target system, right? We have to go down the bottom, we have to click this button that says click here to spawn the target system. We'll click it, and our target system comes up really quickly because it's a Docker target. And we given the IP of 134.209.28.38, and the port is 32.145. Now, this target is accessible over the internet, no VPN is required, and therefore there is no option to download a VPN key here. It also won't respond to ping because it's a Docker target and they simply just won't respond to an ICMP request, ICMP being the protocol used for ping. Also, we see that the port is 32145. Whenever you spawn a Docker target, it's only accessible at the port that's given. So if you're connecting to it via, say, SSH, you need to specify the port in the SSH command. If you're connecting to it via FTP, you need to specify the port in the FTP command. If you're connecting to it via GoBuster, you need to include the port in the URL. If you're connecting to it in the web browser, you also need to include the port in the URL. No matter what you're doing, you always need to include the port number when connecting to a Docker target. Otherwise, you won't be able to access it. And it's only going to be that one port, so there's no point in doing a port scan. You're already told the port, you don't need to search for other ports. So we'll go ahead and we'll copy that, and we'll go back over here, and I'll just go to it in the browser. Now, I'm not connected to the VPN right now. No VPN nonsense going on in the background, and yet I can access the target because it's routable over the internet. And I'm given this little bit of text here that says proof targets. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and we'll go back over here. And it says, what is the proof text displayed in the target website you browsed? So we'll enter it in, we'll hit submit, and it says, okay, we've finished the section. Now, this sort of thing here with proof text is pretty common on both Academy and the main platform, and CTFs in general. The idea is that there's going to be some sort of text that you can find by completing the steps that it wants you to complete, right? So in a lot of cases, we call this the flag, and we'll say find the flag. The way you find the flag is by completing the exploitation steps or completing the steps that it tells you to complete, and only when you complete those steps will you be able to find that string of text that proves you did what you were supposed to do. In this case, it's called proof text. We usually refer to that as being a flag. Now, the other type of target on Academy is a VM target. This is a full-fledged virtual machine, kind of like our Pwnbox instance. It's going to spawn on a private network on a private IP address, which means that you will need to connect to it via the VPN. You can't connect to it over the internet like we just did. You have to connect to it via the VPN or use Pwnbox, which is already connected to the VPN. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we spawn a VM target. So I'll go back over here to modules and I'll go to Linux fundamentals because I know this one has a VM target, and I'll unlock it. So it's going to say, okay, do you want to spend 10 cubes to unlock it? I'll say yes, I do, and I'll unlock it for 10, and now it's unlocked. So I'll start the module. I'll go to the first interactive section and I'll scroll down to the bottom. And I've actually already spawned a target in advance here, so that way we wouldn't have to wait. This takes about a minute to spawn because it's a full VM, but we can see that there is a target spawned here, and it's on the IP address 10.129.176.51. So that is on the 10.129.0.0/16 subnet, and don't worry if you don't know what this means, but this is the subnet that the IP address spawns to, which means that all IP addresses for these VM targets are going to look like 10.129. something, right? .x.y. They're going to look like something like this. And all IP addresses that start with 10, every IP address that starts with 10 is a private IP address, which means it's on a private network. It's not routable over the internet. Now down here, we can actually see the instructions for how we're supposed to connect to it. So in this case, it says SSH to 10.129.176.51 with the username HTB-student and the password HTB_@academy_student! ! So in this case, it's actually telling you what you're supposed to do to connect to it. This won't be the case in every situation. Sometimes you'll just be given an IP, and that means that you're probably going to have to scan the IP with Mmap and try to figure out how you're supposed to access it, what's on it, what you're supposed to do. But in this case, it just simply tells you. And that is how you access a VM target. Now we can see over right here on the right side is that there is this get VPN key button. Now this will appear anytime that you need a VPN to access the target. If this needs a VPN, this button will be here. And we can click that button and it will give us an OpenVPN file, which we can then connect to using OpenVPN in the terminal. That's sudo OpenVPN, then path to file.ovpn. You can also use OpenVPN Connect on Windows, though I wouldn't recommend using Windows. We'll talk about this more in a next video or a further video, but for now, this is how you can download the VPN file. There's actually a second way that you can download the VPN file as well. If we scroll back up to the top and we go to our profile over here in the top right, we go to VPN settings. We're taken to this VPN settings page, this access page, and we can change the VPN server that we're connected to from here. So if we wanted to switch our server, maybe because we were having latency issues or we're just having trouble accessing a target, we want to do some troubleshooting, we can switch our server to anything we want. So I'll switch to EU Academy 1 and it'll process for a second and then tell me I've been switched. And we can also change the protocol. So right now I'm on UDP, which is the default, and I could switch to TCP if I wanted. So TCP connections sometimes help if there's maybe like a firewall interfering with the connection. Maybe it's a little bit unstable. Sometimes switching to TCP can help that, but you can switch what protocol your file uses, what server it's on, and then download the file here as well if for some reason you don't want to use the get VPN key button that is available on sections that have a target, which is a VM target. So now that we've explained both Docker and VM targets, we can head back to our Introduction to Academy module, and we can mark that as complete and next. And we'll get the little checkbox, and we can just mark the rest of these as complete, because I will explain these in the video. And then we'll go to finish. And we mark it as finished, we're going to get this little pop-up that says, congratulations, you finished. Would you like to share it on some social media networks? We can, close out of that. We can rate the box, we can review the module, we can see what modules are suggested for us to do next, we can check out the changelog, retake the module, so on and so forth. So I go back to my dashboard at this point, we can see that this completed module section, which was empty before, now has the Introduction to Academy module in it because we completed it. And we can also see that our to-do list has Linux fundamentals because I unlocked it. And the second I unlocked it, it automatically added it to that list for my to-do list because it's going to say, okay, hey, you started this, right? You probably want to finish it. If we go over to the in progress modules page, we'll also see that Linux fundamentals is here because I did unlock it and now it's in progress. Now, if we wanted to share our progress on these modules with someone, we can do that by setting them our student transcript. So to get that, we'll go to our settings page. So go to the top right, click on your name, click on settings, and we're brought to our profile settings page. So here we can see a few different things. We can see our full name, our username, our email. If you guys want to email me, don't use the +academy.youtube, just do mail@ryan.sh. We can change our email from this page, we can change our password as well, and then we can also download a transcript. So you have two options. You can either use your username or your full name on your profile. So I'll just click on full name, and then we can download a transcript, and this will generate a PDF for us that will contain all of our Academy progress. So here in the top left, we can see our student transcript. It was generated on the 9th of April, 2022. In the top right, it has my name and my profile ID, and we can see that it has one module that has progress on it, which is Intro to Academy. The Linux Fundamentals module isn't showing up here because I didn't actually make any progress on it, I just unlocked it. But any module that you've made progress on would appear on this transcript. Now, if we head back to the settings page, you might have also noticed this thing right here, this box, which says something about generating a student ID. What this is for is, let's imagine that you're working for an employer or that you're a student at school and your employer or your teacher wants to be able to access your Academy progress regularly, programmatically, whatever. They can reach out to us and they can ask, hey, I have students, I have employees, can you generate me an API key? And we'll do so. And that will allow them to pull your progress programmatically as they want and see how far along you're progressing in Academy. Now, in order for them to do that, you'll need to generate a student ID and then give them that student ID, which will allow them to then go ahead and see what your progress is. So that's a feature that's there if you need it. You probably wouldn't do this unless someone asked you to, but if you need it, it is there. So now I've gone back to the modules page and we can take a brief moment to talk about these higher tiers and then also the subscriptions. So tier 1, these modules unlock for 50 cubes. There's a fair amount of them here. Tier 2, they unlock for 100 cubes. A lot of modules in this tier, and then a lot of modules that are almost there, that are coming soon, that aren't published, but will be published relatively soon. These unlock for 100 cubes. Tier 3, 500 cubes. Tier 4, 1,000 cubes. Now you can purchase these cubes directly or via subscription. So we'll go to our billing page under our profile menu right there. And there's two subscription plans here that differ from the rest that we should talk about. And those are the student subscription and the silver annual subscription. Now, the student subscription costs $8 a month, and it does not give you any cubes. There's no cubes involved with the student subscription. Instead, it unlocks all modules up to and including Tier 2. So all the modules in Tier 0, Tier 1, Tier 2, you'll have access to. You don't need to spend any cubes to unlock them. They're just there and you have full access to all of them. And you'll have that access for as long as you have the subscription. If you complete a module, you'll have access to it for forever. And then if you don't complete it, you'll have access to it for as long as you have this subscription. The silver plan is very similar. It also unlocks everything up to and including Tier 2, which includes the entire Bug Bounty Hunter path, by the way. We will get to paths, I promise. And it also includes an exam voucher for the Hack the Box Certified Bug Bounty Hunter exam. At the moment, that's the one exam we have, and this includes one free exam voucher, and you can use that to take the exam. So this is for one whole year, it costs $490, and it does the same thing that the student subscription does, which it gives you full access to everything up to and including Tier 2. The remaining 3 subscriptions are different. They don't just blanket unlock modules, instead they give you some number of cubes per month, so N cubes per month. That's what these do. Now, I should probably talk about paths because I've been mentioning them, and I mentioned the Certified Bug Bounty Hunter exam, and in order for you to take that exam, you need to finish the Bug Bounty Hunter path. So we click on paths, we'll click on job role paths. There are 2 types of paths: job role paths, which are focused around a job, and then skill paths, which are focused around some skill like privilege escalation or Active Directory enumeration, so on and so forth. But if we go to the job role paths section page, we can see that there's the Bug Bounty Hunter path, and it has 20 modules in it. These are all available at the moment, and you need to complete all the modules in this path to be eligible to take the Certified Bug Bounty Hunter examination. The projected cost is 1,410 cubes, and you also will get back 330 cubes in the process of completing this path. And we can enroll in the path by clicking this button. Now, clicking enroll doesn't mean you spend any money. We can go ahead and do that right now. It's fine, it's free. We can click enroll, and all that will do is it will just enroll our account in the path such that the modules in the path will show up on our dashboard. That's all it does. So when you click enroll, it just means that all the modules in the path will show up on your dashboard so you have easy access to them as you're working through the path. Once you finish the Bug Bounty Hunter path, you can take this exam. This is the HTB Certified Bug Bounty Hunter exam, and we can go ahead and we can view the exam information. Now, this exam is very close to my heart because I helped make it. I helped make the exam itself. I did some of the development work for the exam. So, of course, I feel very strongly and very fondly towards this exam, but it is a relatively cool exam, I think. It's focused heavily on, of course, web app pen testing and things that are related to the skill set for bug bounty hunters. So if you're looking to become a bug bounty hunter, this path and this certification definitely give you the skills that you need in order to go out there and find real bugs. But also, it's not just limited to that. It really is widely applicable to many other things, namely web app pen testing. But you can read all about the certification on this page. If you have any questions, a lot of the information is here. You can also reach out to the support chat or ask me, and I'd be happy to answer them. But there's a lot of information about that exam here, and you can only take this by completing that path. Now, as I said, there's also skill paths. So we can see there's some basic skills here. Linux privilege escalation, which has the privilege escalation modules, or local privilege escalation, which has the privilege escalation modules in it. We can see binary exploitation, which is about, pwn and binx and buffer overflows and assembly and things like that. We can see operating system fundamentals, Active Directory enumeration. There are more skill paths coming, but these are the ones that we have for you now, and they're just a series of modules that are related to each other in some way. So I'm back at the dashboard now, and with that, I think we've covered the vast majority of what you need to know to get started on Hack the Box Academy. We talked about what cubes were, we talked about the different types of targets, we talked about how to connect to the VPN, you know about subscriptions, you know what the dashboard does, what paths are, how the exam works. There's a lot of information covered in this video, but if for some reason you find that I missed something, that I didn't talk about something that you were really trying to figure out, of course you can ask me. You can also, of course, reach out to that support button in the bottom right. I'll just go ahead and disable my ad block right here so that shows up. There's this support button in the bottom right. I'll move myself out of the way because I'm blocking it. So right down there, we can see this button here is where you'll access the support chats. You can always go there, ask us any question you have, and we'll be happy to answer you. And of course, you can go into the Discord and ask questions. A lot of people there will be happy to help. And again, feel free to reach out to me. So that's it for this video. Hopefully it contained everything you need in order to get started on Academy, to start working on modules, because in the next video, we're going to be deep diving into a module. We're going to get our hands dirty. We're going to learn some real technical skills. So I'll see you guys then. But for now, goodbye world.